Leith, a 23-year-old back in the time, was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Leith was staying at his parents' home at the time. The basement was his gaming spot. On one of the nights, he was downstairs in the basement gaming. As Leith was downstairs playing video games at 2 a.m., he felt a very rough, burning feeling on his back. The burning sensation kicked in harder until it got extremely painful. So Leith yelled for help, not knowing what was on his back. His parents woke up and ran downstairs to the basement, and they found a huge scratch on their son's back. After a few minutes, the scratch surprisingly started to fade away and heal. An hour later, Leith went upstairs to brush his teeth and get ready for bed. As he was washing his face, he noticed something through the mirror. He noticed a black figure standing across the toilet, staring at him. He thought it was his little brother messing around. He rubbed the water off his face, but the figure was still there, and it didn't move. Leith decided to chase it very quickly, but that figure completely vanished. After this thing vanished, Leith started yelling so loud, knowing that this was the thing that scratched his back. Leith was never afraid of jinns after that day, knowing that these jinns physically put their hands on him. Leith described it as nothing scary. It was as tall as a young boy, and the face was just not visible. Would you chase after a jinn if it hurt you?
The Earth might be bigger than we thought. For years, people have debated over the shape of the Earth, if it is round or flat. Now, this might just all be a conspiracy, but what if the Earth had more than just 7 continents? And Antarctica was just a giant ice wall that kept us from seeing the rest of the continents? What if once you made it past the ice wall, you'll find the 20 continents that are really being hidden from us? And what if there was a map that showed this? There are theories that these continents contain prehistoric animals, aliens, and advanced civilizations, and that the 7 continents that we are living in is actually a giant farm or business owned by a small handful of families that make up the filthy rich in the real world, or in the other continents that we don't know about.
Okay, I'm confused about this backyard here. Like, this is supposed to be my backyard, right? And then when I go downstairs, I know it's not going to be the same. What the shit? I'm literally confused.
Wait.
I swear.
Advanced technology. It carries information users need to know before they've so much as considered it. This includes watches that can detect irregular heartbeats, smart homes that can lock doors, and advertisements that tell you exactly where to get that thing you were just talking about.
What are you in the mood to have for dinner, Steph?
Ooh, I sure could go for some Korean barbecue.
At a discount!
But it seems technology has now ventured onto new capabilities, bringing users information they might have preferred to go without. Yup, it appears these devices are now highly adept at one skill: exposing cheaters. And whether it's the algorithm pushing 2 women dating the same man together,
and I'm on my trusty For You page, and this video pops up, and she's in his kitchen, and I was like, wow, that's familiar. Today we were talking about it, and there was so much I didn't know.
smart devices exposing sneaky behavior,
Alexa, volume down. Check his Apple Watch. Yeah, check his Apple Watch.
or simply technology drawing attention to what's been happening behind a person's back for some time.
Gotta be smarter than your Bluetooth.
In the digital age, no affair is as secret as it appears.
The TV turns on by itself, and then the Ouija board drops on the floor, on its own. And as he starts playing with it, what sounds like a creepy whisper can be heard saying, "Not your toy." He then makes a follow-up video to show that there is no space for someone to hide behind the TV.
No.
After entering his room, something follows, shifting the closet aside and then sticking its head out from behind the corner. We don't get a clear enough look, but we can see a pale grey figure with long dark hair emerge from the corner, and the man's fear sounds very real. This must have been the cause for the despair he felt at night. But just what could this encounter be?
So a lot of people know the movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Most people know him as like he's a slasher with a chainsaw, this big like dumb dude, but he's super strong, and that most people know him as, right? What most people don't know, it is actually based off of a real story. This guy named Ed Gein, right? Ed Gein was born in Wisconsin, and he grew up and he was super isolated, like always by himself. People described him as like a weird dude, like he was very always like by himself. Ed Gein started grave robbing, used their skin for like stuff around the house. He used their bones as like utensils, and he has been confirmed to have killed at least 2 people, but they think it's upwards of 10. But they just can't prove it because it was so long ago. But yeah, so he was arrested, and the scariest part about it though, he did not serve 1 single day in jail. Not 1 single day.
They let him out?
No, so he was found innocent by way of insanity, and he was sent to a psychiatric ward where he lived.
Go now! In this location, the group decides to explore a dimly lit tunnel in hopes of spotting the monster that earlier made them flee in terror. In the glistening daylight, the adventurers enter the tunnel.
We can't even... Dude, I freaking hate this. I swear, if we... This is where... Look at man. We were right here. We're walking. And, this is way wet than last time. Dude, how did he even get in here? So this is where he jumped. Yeah, so he jumped down here. Lucas was right here. Ryan, he was right here. Yeah. And, No! You're so bad! Oh my gosh,
dude! The manhole at the top of the tunnel where the creature initially manifested itself when they last visited is where they focus their initial search. One of them notices something in a nearby aperture while they consider the strange conundrum. Unfortunately, they quickly flee before the camera can record whatever scared them after shining a torch in that area. The cameraman is then able to zoom into the darkness at the end of the tunnel from the safety of the tunnel, catching a glimpse of whatever it is. The figure appears to be strange in some way. So, what have possibly caused all this strange...
Let's talk about the haunted Snow White statue. This was highly requested, so let's talk about it. Now make sure you stay till the end because I have 2 creepy videos to show you, okay? Just letting you know. So user Alan Mora posted this video on June 3rd. The video went viral with about 8 million views. Now in the video, he says that he's walking in El Reino Mágico in Veracruz, and then this happens.
Ese no es el velador, güey. No. No, aguanta, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es el velador. No digas perras mamadas, güey. No digas perras mamadas, güey. Miren. No digas mamadas, güey. No, Yus, no.
Pretty creepy stuff, but I have something creepier. So in the early 2000s, my favorite Mexican paranormal show actually covered that same Blancanieves statue. And in the video, she blinks. Now the reason why the statue is said to be haunted is because Reino Mágico, the park where you can find that statue at, according to locals, was built on top of a graveyard.
El espacio que hoy es ocupado por columpios y juegos infantiles solía ser el resguardo de mausoleos, lápidas y cuerpos humanos que descansaban eternamente.
Anteriormente fue un panteón.
But later they wanted to make it into a cute little park, so they asked some locals to come and pick up their family members' bodies, but apparently some of them did not. And apparently you can still find some of these forgotten family members there. Honestly, this is kind of a sad story. Like, if there's still people buried under there, that is so sad. Also, why do we look like we're twinning them? Oh my god.
AI Gone Wrong, Part 2.2. In part 1 of this video, I talked about Loeb, her backstory, and how she came to be. In this video, I'm going to talk about how Loeb went from this woman to this picture and how dark it got. She wanted to know if you combined another photo prompt with a prompt of Loeb, what would happen. Super Composite's friend actually generated this tunnel photo, and she wanted to know if Loeb combined with this tunnel photo would create something completely new. For reasons unknown, when she tried to combine her friend's image with Loeb, it created this image. Over the next few days, she continued to experiment with Loeb, and the results are terrifying. For some reason, the AI associates Loeb with death, despair, children, pain, and gore. I'm going to put a couple images on the screen and I'll let you see for yourself. I'm going to keep some of the more gory ones off because I don't feel comfortable sharing them on TikTok. But if you want to see all of them, you can look on Super Composite's Twitter. They're all there. The crazy part about it is the more she tried to get rid of Loeb from these photos, the more intense the photos became. That leaves us all with just one question. How did this come from this? What do you think? Leave a comment.
No mames. No mames. No mames. No mames.
What is heard on that voicemail is one of the scariest things I have ever heard. So then they start checking surveillance footage. Turns out they found CCTV footage of him actually dropping him off at that gas station and Henry walking down the street to get to his house, right? 20-30 minutes later, his wife calls him again and they call another friend on three-way. Well, what they didn't know, his phone, he didn't answer the phone. What is heard on that voicemail is one of the scariest things I have ever heard. Okay, so I'm just gonna play it for you. So while this investigation is going on, an anonymous letter is sent to an adjacent police department that says, Henry McCabe, his body next to water, partially buried, needs search dog to find, witness who saw, burial scared. Not too long after that, they ended up finding remains of Henry McCabe next to a lake. An autopsy was performed and it turned out that he had likely drowned in fresh water. Then that makes the letter seem like whoever wrote this letter knew what they were talking about. No foul play was determined and everything was cool.
Then who buried the body?
Investigators found that Rex also had a Tinder profile which he posted photos, selfies of himself, and this profile was linked to the burner phones. Rex Heuermann used 7 burner phones and numerous junk emails to stalk his victims and their families. But Rex was creating a web that would lead investigators right back to their killer. Rex would toss these burner phones shortly after the murders, but was unable to erase his digital footprint. Rex Heuermann also used email accounts that were connected to these burner phones, and police even obtained surveillance footage of Rex at a cell phone store in Midtown Manhattan, purchasing additional minutes for one of the phones. Investigators also discovered that Rex would commit these murders when his wife was out of town. Rex's wife was in Iceland when Melissa was murdered. She was in Maryland when Megan was murdered, and she was in New Jersey when Amber was killed.
Disturbing Unsolved Mysteries Episode 4. Now, a woman's body is found in a hotel water tank weeks after she vanishes, so what made her death so bizarre and terrifying? Now, in February of 2013 at the Cecil Hotel in LA, guests complained of foul taste of water. Well, maintenance found the decomposing body of 21-year-old Canadian student Alicia Lam in a rooftop water tank. She'd been missing for weeks since checking in. Her death was ruled accidental, but autopsy results were inconclusive, and elevator footage from right before she disappeared shows Lam acting paranoid, hiding in the corner, pressing multiple buttons but failing to leave. Some believe that she was having a bipolar episode, while others insist that someone killed her. We may never fully understand what happened to Alicia Lam at the infamous haunted Cecil Hotel that night. But if you think that's bizarre, wait until you hear about that unidentified woman found burnt to death in Norway. The coded diaries and the fake IDs found reveal a sinister mystery.
Time that I encountered a black-eyed child. If this is the type of content that you're into, feel free to follow along. I post a scary story every single day. And for reference, I did share the story a while back when I had like 2 followers. I figured I would go ahead and reshare it now. This happened when I lived in Georgia. It was late at night. I was up watching a movie when I heard somebody knocking on my door. For whatever reason, my gut instinct told me not to open it. 1, it's creepy for anyone to be coming to my door so late at night. But 2, I just had this gut-wrenching feeling that something was off. I ended up getting up from the couch and I got near the door trying to figure out who was out there. And before I could even open my mouth, the person standing behind the door knew I was standing there and said, "Hi ma'am, I'm just here selling some magazine subscriptions. Can you please let me in?" I was a bit startled at first because how would he even know that I was standing there? I was definitely quiet. So I kind of peeked through the peephole and I saw that it was like a boy about to be maybe 12, 13 years old. He was wearing a hoodie. He was just kind of standing there. I decided to ignore him. He continued to knock on my door and start saying, "Please ma'am, if you would just let me borrow a corner of your table so we can talk about these magazine subscriptions." And I'm just like, no. And he's just knocking and knocking and knocking until he gives up. He turns around and he goes right across where my neighbor lives. I hear when he knocks on her door and she opens it. The minute she opens the door, I hear the boy say whatever it was he was gonna say to her, and all I hear is her scream, say "honey," like calling to like her husband, and then she just slams the door shut. Right after that, it was complete silent. I didn't hear anything else. The next morning at like 7 a.m., my neighbor came knocking on my door. I looked out and I saw that it was her, so I opened it and she was freaked out. And she begins to ask me if a boy had been at my door the night before. So I explained to her and I said, "Yes, somebody knocked on my door and I saw when he knocked on your door." She then goes to tell me that when she opened the door and he started to talk to her, she saw that his eyes were completely blacked out. Like even the white parts were completely blacked out, and she got this gut-wrenching feeling that her first instinct was to yell for her husband, and she slammed the door shut. That was one of the first times that I had ever even heard about the black-eyed kids. And once I did more research, I found out what happens if you open the door. So black-eyed kids bring death. They bring chaos. They bring sickness. They bring loss of money, loss of income, loss of job. They just bring the worst of the worst. Thankfully, she did not allow him into the house, but she did answer the door. So unfortunately, it cost her marriage. Like her and her husband ended up breaking up. It was a horrible divorce. She lost everything. Like everything just horrible. So word of advice, if you ever hear a knock at the door, don't answer it.
This is Earth's Scariest Places Part 62. This spooky looking place above me is the teacher's camp in Baguio City, Philippines. It is undoubtedly one of the most haunted places in the country, and if you stick around, I'll tell you why. But first, a quick history lesson. The teacher's camp was originally built in the early 1900s to act as a vacation home for American teachers stationed in the Philippines. Teachers would come here to relax and blow off some steam and attend trainings and workshops. The facility included dorms, tents, an auditorium for concerts, sports facilities, and conference rooms. Originally built for positive reasons, this place does have a bit of a dark side. One weekend, a group of teachers was staying at one of the cabins and they felt a dark energy come upon them. The sky got dark, it got colder, there was a chill in the air, and it just felt off. After a few minutes of this, they ended up seeing a dark, shadowy figure appear in their cabin. They were terrified. It's rumored that one of the teachers died that night, but no one can prove it. Ever since then, the place has reported so much paranormal activity. including ghostly figures and apparitions and screams in the night. These have even been caught on camera. Today, you can go visit the place for yourself. Would you go?
This is no ordinary picture. Want to take a guess what's going on here? You can even take a pause and look at this picture really closely. Hi, I'm Stephanie, and if you like folklore, paranormal, or unsolved cases or anything strange, you come to the right place. So to give some context, this user here on Reddit said that his friend's mom took a picture of her daughter wearing some shoes when they noticed something really creepy in the top corner of the picture. So if you look here in the corner, you can see that there is a person there in the corner, but there was no one in the house when this picture was taken other than herself and her daughter. Now here's a picture of Brighton. Someone pointed out that you can even see the legs in this figure. Some people said it was a cat, but I think that's insult to intelligence because that does not look like a cat. So what do you think? Was this a man? Was this a hoax? Is it a ghost? Let me know in the comment section.
Okay, so I'm about to blow your mind with this video.
We all know how many people believe Antarctica is not a continent of ice, but rather a giant ice wall surrounding all the continents of the world. And many people believe that if we cross these ice walls, there would be many other continents that have been kept hidden from us. Well, I'm about to show you a couple maps that actually show all the continents being surrounded by an ice wall. Up first is a map from Gleason's new Standard of the World map. And as you can see, it clearly shows an ice wall surrounding all the continents. This was also published in 1892 and Antarctica was found in 1820, which means they definitely had a better understanding of Antarctica because they literally found it 70 years before this map was published. So the real question is, why is it different today? But that's not even the craziest map. Here is the next map, which was leaked from an unknown source and it's unbelievable. The ice wall is surrounding the continents and extends out to what looks like a bunch of other continents. And oceans, which means other creatures or humanoids are there that are being hidden from us. Let's say this is real. Why is it being hidden from us? Is it for our safety or is it being hidden for some other sinister reason? I'm very curious to see what everyone thinks about this, so let me know.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. The girl in this photo was arrested for torturing and killing animals. She filmed herself doing it and even posted it online. She hanged her dogs by their collars, nailed them to walls, and even shot them with an airsoft gun. She would then cut them open and rip out their internal organs. This sweet-looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal-looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. This photo of Richard Hickok and Perry Smith shows two murders after hearing that they've been sentenced to death. They murdered a family of 4 and planned to rob them, but they found nothing worth stealing except for a mere $50. The girl on the left is wearing a wire. The girl on the right has no idea. Together they stabbed one of their friends to death, and the girl on the left confessed to the police and is now cooperating with them. Besides the pixelation, this looks like a couple getting married surrounded by their loved ones. However, all the children in this photo were horribly physically and mentally abused until a couple of them managed to escape.
Does anyone else remember when I posted this Zillow listing of the missile silo? It got over 6 million views and it's back. It's for sale again, but this time it's been renovated. I mean, look at that living space. I feel like this part is still mostly the same, but they really outdid themselves. The kitchen kind of makes up for the fact that you're living in a missile silo with no windows. Now this is giving barbarian. But, you know, nice little bathroom. Again, I think this is the same for the most part. Reminds me of the set of Stranger Things. But it gets better, because then they have this. This is like, it's like a pool, but it kind of reminds me of that scene from the movie A Cure for Wellness. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. But now that it's all said and done, my question is, would you buy this house for $750,000?
Okay, so we know that the fairy tales Disney movies are based on are way darker than the movies. Like how in The Little Mermaid, Ariel has to stab the prince with a knife that her sisters bought her. But I bet you haven't heard of the Brothers Grimm story that was way too dark for Disney. It's actually not so much a fairy tale as it is just a straight up horror movie. And a reminder that if you have a dark curiosity, you'll love the podcast.
So it's called the juniper tree, and it's from about 1812. And it starts that once there was a woman who was so desperate to have a baby, once she finally had one, she died of happiness. The boy's father eventually remarries, but he remarries a woman who already has a daughter. And the woman is afraid that the boy is going to take the attention away from her daughter. So one day the woman asks the boy to fetch an apple from a chest, and as he's doing so, she slams the lid down on his head, completely beheading him. And after this happens, she's freaking out. She doesn't want the dad to know what she did. So she ties a ribbon around the boy's neck and props him up. Then she proceeds to tell her daughter to go wake the boy up by pushing him. And the daughter does, but his head falls off when she does it, so now the daughter thinks it's her fault this is happening. And the mom tells the daughter, well, the only thing we can do is turn the boy into a stew. So they turn him into a stew and they serve him to the father that night. The daughter feels so bad that she goes into the back and she buries the bones under a juniper tree. And from where she buried the bones sprouts a bird who flies over and drops a millstone on the stepmother's head, crushing her to death. And then that's just the end of the story. That's how dark it is.
Woman uses black magic and possesses her daughter's doll to start walking.
Girls Trip, most haunted hotel in America, and my nightstand on the creepy door is my eyes shut, so early bedtime looking for ghosts. Girls Trip, most haunted hotel in America, and my nightstand on the creepy door is my eyes shut, so early bedtime looking for ghosts.
Something is watching me. If you've had the feeling, you know what I'm...
Would you quit your job after seeing this? One evening, a guy was working night shift security at a local hospital and was making his nightly rounds. He had just started and it was an average evening, quiet. It was late, so everyone was in their rooms. When he first walked down one hallway, he noticed a wheelchair on one side, but the second time around, he noticed strangely that same wheelchair had moved. There was no one else around, and he got a weird feeling, so he took out his phone and captured this. He said he had never experienced anything paranormal like this in his life. How the chair was moving on its own remains a mystery. So what do you think, paranormal, or was someone just messing with them?
In either way, would you stay on the job?
So y'all know how I feel about my neighborhood, right? And how it's a fucking simulation. Like, literally all the houses are the same, right? Why the fuck are all these white cars, like, dead ass?
Good, bro, we gotta go. We gotta go, bro.
Bro, what the fuck?
Cuz.
Bro, you don't see that?
Bro, that's a fucking UFO.
Bro, what the fuck is that? Bro, what the fuck?
Cuz, what is going on, bro?
Bro, I know you see that.
Bro, I'm getting it on camera. That don't look like they slowing down?
Bro, but you see that motherfucker up there over it?
Yeah.
And then you look at that cloud right there.
Bro.
Nah, bro, this shit ain't normal.
Dude. Am I witnessing this shit right now? Bro, fuck that. Fuck that. Aliens is real, bro. Look at this shit. It went away.
It did what?
It disappeared.
The fuck?
Bro, this ain't right.
Nah, bro.
This not right. Bro, this is not right.
Bro, and that motherfucker up there still ain't moved. It's been in that same exact spot.
This is totally unreal that this happened like in 1942 on this planet. Extraterrestrial come from who knows where out in the galaxy. Germany gets to be the country that these Draco reptilians pick out to do two types of missions. One, to remove all of the people that Hitler didn't want in his country, and every one of them around the planet. Two, to take every man, woman, and child on this planet and put them in slave factories, men, women, and children, to build and construct all these different types of Draco Navy space battle group ships. This may sound like insanity. This is what happened.
He had concluded from what these insiders were telling him that the Germans had actually made treaties with a highly aggressive and highly negative reptilian humanoid race that they've called the Saurians or the Draco. This treaty involved the Nazis actually being given workable technology that is built with our own conventional systems. They use a sort of mercury turbine, or type of mercury called red mercury. And then they are actually able to leave the Earth. They had a settlement on the moon, they had a settlement on Mars, and they were doing this stuff as early as 1939, even before World War II actually started. As you can imagine, everybody was thinking he was crazy, but yet these insiders were reporting literally standing there, in which you have 8-foot tall, even 12 to 14-foot tall reptilian extraterrestrials, terrifying in appearance, they smell bad, actually advising the Germans on how to build this stuff in these various bases, including that in Antarctica.
Operation High Jump was an operation commissioned in 1947 that was led by Admiral Richard Byrd,
And on the public level, it was said that this was a scientific exploration. But what happened was that this operation was commissioned with 33 ships, 13 aircraft, and 5,000 men. Now, this was not a scientific exploration with that many men and that many ships. What Operation High Jump actually was commissioned for was to go down to Antarctica and basically root out the Nazi installations that they had built pre and during World War II. The DC flyover was an event that occurred over successive weekends in July of 1952 in Washington, DC. And what had happened was that there was a mass sighting right over the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. There was many lights in the sky. Now, many people believe that this was a UFO or an extraterrestrial incident, but in fact it was not. It was German saucers, German craft that were flying over the Capitol building and essentially forcing the hand of the Americans to accept many of these Nazi scientists into their control structures. When many of these Nazi scientists came into America after World War II in Operation Paperclip, they infiltrated into basically every power structure in the United States, government, media, medical systems, basically everything. After World War II, James Forrestal went to Germany to tour many of the research facilities that the Germans had over in Europe, and John F. Kennedy actually accompanied him on those tours. Some believe that Kennedy was actually given information by Forrestal about secret space programs and the UFO phenomenon. And near the end of James Forrestal's career, he was also embroiled in many policy struggles within the United States government. He wanted to disclose the UFO phenomenon and the technologies associated with it. It was said that he committed suicide by jumping out of a high-rise hospital that he was staying in at the time of his death. But of course, many people are also believing that he was actually pushed out of the window and in fact assassinated to prevent him from working to disclose these technologies in UFO.
Going on in China. A video was released a couple of days ago showing a man who was presumed dead coming back to life in a horrific zombie-like fashion. This video allegedly came from a morgue in China. Now, there's already many articles explaining that if a zombie apocalypse were to begin, the likely epicenter of it would be China. However, many people think that China being China would have likely covered it up and not let anyone find out. And if you're just hearing about it now, you are too late. So, I bet you're now wondering,
Subi was tortured for 335 days on a Japanese game show broadcast live to over 17 million people. As part of the challenge, he was denied almost no food, entertainment, and was completely cut off from humanity, a form of torture known as solitary confinement. Nasubi started to lose his mind, and the show's producer made millions.
There's some haunting last photos of people, Part 4. Pavel Kashin was a Russian parkour artist who was famously known for doing backflips on the edges of buildings. He loved the sense of danger in these stunts, but his love for the sport would later be his downfall. This is the last photo taken of Pavel, which shows him in the midst of doing his final stunt. The stunt itself was successful, but after landing, he lost his footing and fell 16 stories to his death.
This is a true horrifying story, part 21. This story took place in Dubai in the year 2016. This story was published by Jules Beck a few months ago on Khadij Times. It was a regular school day, and I was 15 years old at the time. I was laying in bed, and I felt something creep up on me. I couldn't see what it was, as I sleep in pitch darkness. I thought it was just my legs going numb. But then I found out that it wasn't. Whatever this thing was, it was heavy. I can feel it walking up towards me, on my body. I also heard strange noises in my ears. Sounded like something was screaming. I turned to see if something was around me, but there was nothing there. I kept thinking this could have been a nightmare. My mom suddenly walks in, and she says, "It's okay, dear. You're probably having a nightmare. I'm gonna read you prayers, and everything will be fine." This creepy thing went away, and I fell asleep after my mom read her prayers. I woke up the next morning asking myself, wait a second, how did my mom even know I was having nightmares? So I went and asked her, and she looked at me confused. "What are you talking about? I was fast asleep at that time, and I did not walk into your room. This never happened before." and I still wonder till this day if I was alone that night. So that's Jules' story. I want to cover something myself. This is my theory behind this story. This 15-year-old child definitely had something that's known to be called yathum, scientifically known as sleep paralysis, but religiously known to be a demon that paralyzes you during your sleep. This is religiously known. If a house is filled with prayers and members of good deeds, good jinns usually protect the house from bad jinns. And the appearance of the mother walking in was definitely a good jinn, protecting that child from a bad entity.
This is the scariest child's toy, and its story is truly disturbing. The evil stick wand only made headlines in 2014 after someone found what appeared to be a spooky image of a demonic figure hiding behind the shiny foil. Speculation quickly turned into controversy, which eventually led to its ban.
Strangest things found at the bottom of the ocean. This footage was recorded by deep-sea divers in 2015 and it shows a strange alien-like creature they found. The creature turned out to be a siphonophore, which is an extremely rare jellyfish-like creature that just floats around on the ocean floor. What else do you think is lurking at the bottom of the ocean that we don't know about?
So I have a succubus story time, and in case you don't know what a succubus is a female D word that will SA their victim while they sleep. So the story took place back in 2012 in Bakersfield, California. So Ethan had just gotten home from college when he decided to start working on some homework and get ready for bed. He was pretty drained, so the minute he laid down, he was completely passed out. But not for long. He started to have this dream about this very dark being trying to break into his home. It finally broke in, and the minute this thing broke into his home, Ethan jumped out of bed completely startled. He felt this intense ringing in his ear that he could not explain where it was coming from, and the whole room just felt off. He almost felt like he had been drugged. He then realized that he couldn't move, he was completely paralyzed, and he felt the presence of a very dark being at the head of his bed. This thing was holding his arms down, not letting him move, and was trying to put something in his ear. Can't give any more further details regarding what was going on because TikTok were not like that, but Ethan was in intense pain and kept trying to break free, but no matter what he did, he couldn't break free. He then started to curse at this thing, but regardless, the pain just intensified. He then heard this horrific, loud, high-pitched laughing sound coming from this D word. The D word then whispered right next to his ear the word soon. The minute he said that, Ethan was completely free and this thing left his house. Ethan right away jumped out of his bed and turned the lights on, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary in his room aside from the fact that both of his dogs had been right outside of his bedroom door, barking and trying to break into his room to save him. He tried to brush it off as it may have just been a horrible nightmare until he went to the bathroom, turned the lights on, and saw in the mirror that both of his eyes were completely bloodshot. Till this day, Ethan remains terrified of this thing returning, being that it said soon. It has yet to return.
The TikToker Shark Wahlberg recently brought to light that two great white sharks have gone missing. And using the data from SeaWorld Shark Tracker, it shows that the missing sharks have been traveling distances at speeds that are nearly impossible for a shark of that size. Furthermore, temperature data coming from trackers of missing sharks are consistent with the data of creatures when they get eaten and are in the belly of other predators. So, what could have been a shark as large as the great white shark?